The desert wind moves like breath across the stones of Karahantepe. Hidden beneath 12,000 years of silence, the carved faces stare back, unblinking, eternal. Archaeologists didn't expect a face, not here, not this old. But in the limestone bed of southeastern Turkey, a single pillar emerged from dust, tall, T-shaped, and impossibly human. Its eyes are hollow but deliberate, its nose sharp, sculpted. It looks at us from a time when the world was supposed to be empty of gods, temples, and memory. Yet here it is, proof that someone, 11,000 years before the pyramids, already saw themselves in stone. What if these carvings aren't just decoration? What if they're the first reflection of humanity, the moment the mind of civilization blinked awake? The site lies near Şanlıurfa, in the southeastern corner of Turkey, a landscape of sun-cracked limestone and rolling hills. Locals call it the Tepeler, the Stone Hills. In 1997, a few archaeologists noticed strange T-shaped rocks protruding from the earth at Karahantepe. They resembled the enigmatic pillars of Göbekli Tepe, only 35 kilometers away, but no one realized then what slept beneath. For decades, the site waited, half-buried, marked on maps but untouched. Then, in 2019, excavations began again, part of a broader mission to uncover the Stone Hills region. And in 2025, the world saw the first image, a colossal pillar carved with the unmistakable visage of a human face. The headlines called it the earliest human portrait. But beneath that, something deeper stirred, the sense that Karahantepe wasn't just another ruin. It was a missing chapter in human history. The pillars rise from the earth like silent sentinels, dozens of them, arranged in circular enclosures. Each stands between 2 and 5 meters tall, carved from the same limestone bedrock. They form patterns, lines, alignments, not random, but architectural. Some are smooth and blank. Others carry the contours of arms, shoulders, and hands, as though the builders were sculpting themselves into the pillars. Then comes the new discovery, a human face. Not stylized, not symbolic, detailed, the bridge of the nose, the curvature of the mouth, and the slope of a cheekbone. It's as if the artist was saying, "This is us." Around it, tiny carved animals gather, foxes, vultures, snakes, boars, creatures of myth and hunger. They seem to move in sequence, like a story written in stone. Archaeologists found these miniatures clustered near the enclosures, each carved with uncanny precision. The animal motifs repeat at both Karahantepe and its sister site, Gobekli Tepe, part of a symbolic language that may predate writing itself. And here, for the first time, they found the storyteller's face. The age alone is astonishing, 11,000 to 12,000 years before present. That's before pottery, before metal tools, before the invention of agriculture as we know it. So how and why did people capable only of hunting and gathering carve such massive, complex structures? The stones weigh tons, yet they were quarried, shaped, and lifted with perfect precision. There are sockets and sockets for joining pillars, signs of intentional engineering. Even more strange, these structures weren't destroyed by time. They were buried deliberately. Just like Göbekli Tepe, Karahantepe appears to have been ritually entombed, the enclosures filled with sand and rubble, sealed as if to preserve them for a future they'd never see. No one knows why. Were they closing a ritual cycle? Whatever the reason, that act of burial means the site was never reused. It was preserved, a time capsule from the dawn of consciousness. Dr. Necmi Karul, leading the excavation, describes Karahantepe as a Neolithic expression of the human form in architecture. He believes it may have been a ceremonial complex, a place where early people gathered, not to live but to commune. Mainstream archaeologists agree that this was a ritual center, but its function remains a mystery. No graves, no domestic tools, no sign of farming. Instead, the carvings, arms stretching across pillars, animals circling the enclosures, hint at something symbolic. A mythology before myth, a ritual before religion. The Turkish Ministry of Culture calls it the first example of man embracing himself in stone. That phrase lingers, because if true, Karahantepe may mark the first moment humanity used art not to describe nature, but to describe itself. Some experts go further. They suggest these sites weren't only temples, they were the spark of social organization. Where scattered tribes gathered seasonally, sharing stories, rituals, maybe even the first collective memories. If that's true, civilization didn't begin with farming. Farming began with the need to gather. Some researchers see in Karahantepe the fingerprints of a proto-civilization, not yet cities or kings, but a network of communities connected by ritual and art. Imagine this, scattered tribes roaming the fertile plains after the last ice age. The glaciers retreat, the climate warms. For the first time, food is abundant, and as survival eases, imagination awakens. They begin to carve, not just for function, but for meaning. The T-shaped pillars become symbols of humans, arms at the sides, heads on top. The carvings of animals may represent clans, myths, or even constellations. The carved face could be more than portraiture, perhaps an ancestor, or the spirit of the first storyteller. It's possible these stones marked the first shared mythology, a narrative linking human and animal, earth and sky. Some even speculate that these alignments correspond to astronomical patterns, solstices, star risings, and the rhythm of seasons. If so, Karahantepe may have been both temple and observatory, a calendar carved in stone. Others imagine something psychological, that this was the dawn of self-awareness, the first time humanity looked at stone and saw reflection. In that sense, the face is not decoration, it's declaration, the moment we realized we exist. Karahantepe is not alone. Across southeastern Turkey, at least a dozen similar sites are emerging: Göbekli Tepe, Sefer Tepe, Harbetsuvan, and others. Together, they form what archaeologists call the Tepeler civilization, a web of ancient settlements, each echoing the same architecture and iconography. It's not one site that rewrites history, it's the pattern they form. Each hill conceals enclosures, pillars, and art, all sharing the same motifs: T-shapes, animals, and sometimes human forms. It suggests a connected belief system spanning hundreds of kilometers, an organized spiritual landscape predating agriculture. When compared to later sites in Mesopotamia, the continuity is striking. Communal architecture evolves into temples. Animal symbolism transforms into gods. Narrative carvings turn into cuneiform. Karahantepe then becomes the missing link, the prologue to civilization. So what if the story of civilization doesn't begin in Mesopotamia, but here, in the stone hills? What if the impulse to build, to believe, to remember, began not with farming or kingship, but with art? Karahantepe may be where memory itself was born, a place where ideas outlived their creators. The carved animals could be the first recorded myths, the buried enclosures, the first archives. And that face, staring through 12,000 years of silence, the first human signature. Somewhere between myth and geology, the stones whisper, "We were here. We knew who we were." The age of civilization may have begun the moment a hand reached for a chisel and carved not a beast, not a god, but a reflection. That reflection, still half buried in limestone, may be the oldest mirror in the world. At dusk, the sun sets over Karahantepe, washing the site in gold. Shadows fill the hollows of the carved face, and for a moment, it seems alive again. Every discovery here tightens the thread between memory and matter. Every grain of sand removed reveals another question. Who were these people? And why did they bury their masterpiece beneath the earth, sealing it away like a message for the future? Perhaps, deep down, they knew we would need to find it. That someday, in a world of data and noise, we'd need to remember where imagination began. When the stones of Karahantepe were young, the world was silent. Now, 12,000 years later, they speak again, and the message is simple. We have always been more ancient than we remember. And the face in the stone might still be ours.